The difference between a good workout and a consistent exercise practice is not a matter of intensity. It's architecture. Most people spend years trying to build a better routine and never ask the question that determines whether the behavior survives. A routine becomes effective once the system is established. A system is the structure that ensures the behavior keeps happening when there are good excuses to quit available. That structure has an anatomy, 5 components. Each one addresses a specific failure point. Skip one, and the whole thing becomes fragile. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you're listening to Exercising Consistency, from fitness to flourishing. This is episode 2 of 3 on architectural consistency. In the last episode, I established the distinction between routines and systems. Routines are procedural. Systems are architectural. Routines are linear, step by step. Systems are cybernetic, looping continuously through observation, comparison, action, feedback, and adjustment. Without that loop, there is no system, only repetition. Today, we build the system, answering questions and addressing issues the routine cannot. The first component is a minimum standard you can meet on your worst day. The trend is to set a ceiling. Many people aim to optimize right out of the gate. They define what success looks like under ideal conditions. An hour at the gym, a full morning routine, perfect execution. When conditions degrade, the ceiling becomes unreachable. They skip the session entirely. The all or nothing ceiling produces nothing far more often than it produces all. Setting a floor works in the opposite direction. It defines the minimum that counts as continuity. The intensity does not matter. What matters is that the behavior occurred and the pathway was reinforced. The body does not optimize for peak performance. It optimizes for continuity. Your heart does not decide to skip a beat because conditions are not ideal. Your system, modeled on the same principle, keeps running at whatever capacity is currently available. The standard adapts to conditions. The standard never drops to zero. Consistency first, intensity when it makes sense. The second component is an environmental trigger, a circumstance that removes decision from the moment of action. System 2, the conscious and intentional aspect of the brain, cannot simply choose to voluntarily wake up and make the right choice when System 1, the automatic and non-conscious aspect of the brain, is working. The anterior cingulate cortex only fires on concrete prediction errors, not on abstract misalignment. If the trigger is when I feel motivated, the behavior will not occur. Motivation is not a trigger. It is an intermittent emotional state with no fixed schedule. A proper trigger is physical and specific. For example, when I walk into the kitchen at 7 a.m., then I fill my water bottle. Or when I close my laptop at 5 p.m., then I change into my workout clothes and go to the office gym. The environment itself initiates the sequence. No decision, no negotiation. The routine begins because the trigger fired, and the trigger fires because the environment was designed to make it inevitable. The third component is a success condition that leaves no room for reinterpretation. Abstract goals invite rationalization. I want to feel productive allows the inner lawyer to argue that scrolling through social media for industry news counts as productive. I want to move more allows walking to the fridge to count as movement. The standard dissolves because the standard was never specific or concrete. A binary metric answers a single question with a yes or no. Did the timer hit 0? Did I open the document? Did I record the completion of my workout in my journal? There is no partial credit. There is no it depends. The standard is either met or it is not. And the feedback is immediate. This is what the body does every second. Oxygen saturation, blood sugar, temperature. Each metric returns a clear value and the system adjusts accordingly. Your system needs the same clarity. The fourth component is a scope of effort that scales to match current capacity. A rigid routine has one operating mode, one speed, one intensity. When life disrupts that single mode, the entire routine collapses. A resilient system has tiers describing the metric involved. Each tier preserves the behavior. The only variable is the intensity, measured in time, quality, or a subjective estimate based on personal experience. In my system, there are 4 tiers. The lowest tier is crawl. This is your non-negotiable. It's designed to be so small that skipping it feels absurd. 2 minutes of movement at the lightest possible exertion. The subjective criteria is, there is no way I will not get this done today. Too easy. Crawl exists to keep the streak alive when conditions are at their worst. It is the most important tier in the entire system. If crawl survives, the system survives. This is the floor that I mentioned earlier. The next tier is walk. This is your reasonable, doable baseline. 10 to 20 minutes at a comfortable level of effort. The subjective criteria is, yeah, I can do that. Walk is what you can comfortably expect to execute as you go about your normal daily schedule and tasks. It is not aspirational. It is sustainable. Above that is run. This is your standard of personal excellence. 21 to 60 minutes at a challenging but manageable intensity. The subjective criteria is, this is what I aspire to do. This is me at my best. Run is what you aim for on days when energy and time are both available. The highest tier is fly. This is beyond your expectation. 61 to 180 minutes or more at near maximum output. The subjective criteria is, wow, where did that come from? Fly is not something you schedule. It's something that happens when conditions align and the session takes over. It is flow state, not a target, a gift. The scope of effort is not about lowering standards. It's about building a system with enough redundancy to survive real life. The body does this continuously. Heart rate scales from resting to maximum output in seconds. Respiration adjusts breath by breath. Your system will work best with a similar range. This takes practice to implement with accuracy and will evolve with your skills and growing experience. The fifth component is a written protocol that stabilizes everything. Your working memory holds roughly 4 chunks of information. It cannot simultaneously store the floor, the trigger, the binary metric, the scope of effort scale, and execute the action. Something gets dropped, maybe even the most important thing. A written document acts as an external hard drive. It specifies every component in concrete terms. For example, when I get to the gym. Then I review my planned workout and begin my warm-up within 5 minutes of signing in at the front desk. Success means I've completed my warm-up and I'm ready to do my workout. Crawl is completing 2 minutes of the warm-up. Walk is completing the warm-up and 15 minutes of the workout. Run is completing the warm-up and the entire 30-minute workout. The protocol is reviewed briefly before the action begins, maybe in the car before walking into the gym. Then you lock it. The protocol does not change daily based on mood. If the trainer, System 2, is inconsistent, the student, System 1, receives conflicting data and learns something you haven't planned. Write it once, lock it for a fixed cycle, execute without any negotiation, review only between cycles, not within them. These 5 components form a structure, but structure alone is not a system. A system includes feedback. At the end of each week, review the binary metrics. Did you do what you said you'd do? If yes, what conditions supported that? If no, what in the design failed? Remember, you don't want to ask, what is wrong with me? That is not helpful and leads to no effective learning. Instead, you want to stay objective and ask, what in the architecture failed to account for what happened? Then, adjust one variable. Keep it to one, not a complete redesign. One change, tested for another week, and reviewed again. The loop mirrors the body. Observe, compare against the standard. Act, receive feedback, adjust, repeat. The system learns. The architecture adapts. The behavior becomes more effective and resilient over time. Intensity without continuity produces nothing long-term. A system that keeps you moving at 20% capacity indefinitely outperforms a routine that demands 100% effort and collapses in 6 weeks. The floor over the ceiling. Crawl over the heroic push. Consistency over intensity. Build the architecture, work the system, the routine will take care of itself. Next, in the final episode of this series, we'll look at how to integrate the system into identity, the do, be, have sequence, the 84-day commitment as the container, and the role of values as the root that feeds the entire structure, making consistency the default output rather than a sporadic surprise. When you're ready to turn consistency from an idea into a lived experience, start your day one inside the ACT Score Challenge. That's it for today. Catch you next time.